There is total chaos at the White House right now. Reportedly, people inside the administration understand how terrible the events that are unfolding are and how they're being perceived, and they've lost the public, obviously, killing people in broad daylight and lying about it in broad daylight. And so Karoline Leavitt came out to do damage control, and it was wild because you can simultaneously see her doing this state propaganda type stuff, regime propaganda, continuing lies, trying to do a bunch of victim blaming, but at the same time trying to back off a little bit. I mean, Stephen Miller came out and called Alex Preddy an assassin. You had Kristi Noem and others pretending like he was going there to do a massacre of ICE agents, just like delusional stuff that luckily we have video to obviously debunk, and it has been thoroughly. So everything we talk about there. But there is something notable about how they're backing off a little bit. They realize they've gone too far, I think. And we'll start with this clip from a pretty disastrous press conference of Karoline Leavitt's.
Thank you, Karoline. Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Preddy looks like he wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Stephen Miller on Saturday posted that, or called Preddy a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials jump to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted?
Well, look, this has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
So why doesn't he get the rest of his administration to... Well, first of all, why did he come out immediately and lie? Because he did that too. But then why doesn't he get his other administration officials to stop coming out and jumping to conclusions? I'm so sick and tired of Leavitt and Tom Homan and Kristi Noem and Trump saying, you, me, we, all of us have to wait for an investigation that they'll do, and don't ask local officials to have any say in it. Don't ask anything independent, we'll do it. But we have to wait for an investigation before you jump to conclusions or have any outrage. But we can come out immediately and say whatever the hell we want. But then if you press us on something that one of our spokespeople said, like Stephen Miller calling him an assassin, smearing Alex Preddy, then I'll go back on while we're waiting for an investigation. Well, then why did he say that? Why did he say that? And that's what this next reporter gets at, which is Stephen Miller going to apologize for lying about Alex Preddy? Maybe even apologize to his family? While you watch this clip, if you appreciate these updates, despite that everything that's going on, the storm and icy roads, please do click the subscribe button. It's completely free, makes a big difference. And if you want to go a few steps further, you can click the like button and all those things just to help get the word out about what we do. Here this is.
Is top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On Stephen Miller's comments, will Stephen Miller be apologising to the family of Alex Preddy for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the...
So then she says a bunch of stuff that doesn't answer the question. Obviously, Stephen Miller won't be apologizing. But if you actually are mourning, if you actually care, if you actually don't want people to be hurt, Americans to be killed, then why are you enabling it? Why are you continuing the operation in Minneapolis? Why are you lying after someone gets killed? Excuse me. And then a little bit more on this.
Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing?
Yeah, and she doesn't answer that question either. And then a right-wing propagandist asks... Okay. So then she throws to, I guess, like a gateway pundit person or something. And he says, Where was the outrage about Ashley Babbitt if people are outraged about Alex Preddy? So, let me explain before I even play the clip to this quote-unquote, air quotes, sarcasm reporter, journalist. Here's the difference as to why there wasn't national outrage about Ashley Babbitt like Alex Preddy. Alex Preddy was peacefully protesting and filming, assisting a woman who had been shoved to the ground and got shot a bunch of times for no reason. Ashley Babbitt was violently storming the Capitol and was trying to climb through a window into a secured, what was supposed to be a secured government building, as they sought to prevent an election from being certified. That's the difference. Still tragic she died. Tragic Trump's lies got her into that position. Truly. Very different situation, though.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. Jordan Conrad's from Gateway Fund. I have a few questions. First, with respect to the shooting in Minneapolis, we're seeing massive outrage from mainstream media and the left, but I'm just wondering, where was that outrage when Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, was executed by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who she posed no threat to in the U.S. Capitol?
Well, you raise a very important point, which I also believed I just raised as well in those opening remarks, in that there has no doubt been selective outrage by the liberal biased media and picking and choosing victims and highlighting their stories.
Okay, so it's... I already explained it. I already explained the difference, and it's just upsetting that people would be that disingenuous. But then she was asked, and I'll just fill in some of the context. The reporter doesn't say all this, but there is a lot of reporting that even Trump is uncomfortable with how Kristi Noem has been handling this, that definitely people within DHS are super uncomfortable and against it, wanting to resign, which they should, by the way. That would be the patriotic thing to do. Does Trump still have full confidence in Kristi Noem? And Leavitt says, yep.
To your first question, the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem. To the second question,
If he still has full confidence and trust in Kristi Noem after she now has smeared and lied about 2 different people who were brutally killed during protests, unjustly, and he still stands by her. He called them both domestic terrorists before an investigation and completely contrary to the facts. Kristi Noem did. And he still stands by her. Well, then, those are all his words in my book. Then that is all on him, of course. And then here was the victim blaming that I referenced.
Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out.
Why did so many Trump administration officials come out and lie about it then, if you're going to let the investigation play out?
But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our...
So remove the horrible criminals through the legal processes, like many presidents have done before. Obama did extensive, humongous immigration enforcement. And that doesn't require these sorts of unlawful raids, harassments, escalations. It doesn't. So it's not Tim Walz sparking this. It's Trump's policies. Then this.
It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today.
So you hear, it's like, yeah, I guess it's sad that we ended up leading to someone getting killed, but gosh, I guess my takeaway is I wish they would stop resisting. What? What resisted? What was Alex resisting? He was filming. He was getting protesters out of the way. He was ushering cars past him. You see all this in the video. It's sort of, yeah, well, we'll stop abusing you if you'll just stop resisting. Then, to my point about the backing off, it does seem they're a little bit frantically panicking. Here, talking about Bovino, the ICE commander, being, it sounds like, changed to a different place.
Going to Minnesota, is Gregory Bovino also going to remain in Minnesota overseeing these ICE operations?
Mr. Bovino is a wonderful man, and he's a great professional. He is going to very much continue to lead Customs and Border Patrol throughout and across the country. Mr. Homan will be the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis.
So now Mr. Homan, Tom Homan, and you can see Trump posting here, I'm sending Tom Homan to Minnesota tonight. He's not been involved in that area, but knows and likes many of the people there. And now it's going to be Tom heading this up, which led to Crystal Ball posting, which was a thought that I was having. While that this regime is so psychotic, Tom Homan is considered moderate. So they're going, whoa, things got out of control. We're going to reposition Bovino, but replace him with Tom Homan and he'll really chill things out. Yikes. And then she just lied. This is just ridiculous. Listen to this.
Aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to deport from the interior of our country. The most peaceful way to carry out this vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops. You wouldn't know this continues to be a very popular policy position from the biased media coverage over the course of the last few days. But polling shows huge support for this exact thing President Trump is calling for. More than 80% of Americans favor deporting illegal aliens convicted of violent crimes.
Yeah, and that's not what you're doing exclusively. Of course everyone supports that. If you're a violent criminal and you aren't lawfully in the country and you get detained, yep, that's cause for deportation, of course. No one's arguing with that or disagreeing with that, but that's not what's causing all this. Citizens have been detained. Legal, people with legal immigration status, non-violent, undocumented immigrants, non-criminal, undocumented immigrants. Huge percentages of the people who have been detained and deported do not fall into the category that you're talking about. And even when you're going about these different operations, you're not getting the proper approvals and warrants, and you're not respecting people's rights, whether it be entering their home or detaining them, and then they don't even end up being who you thought you were going after over and over again. So the lie there is that polling shows Americans support what Trump's doing, but you might go, well, she was saying polling shows it supports what Trump's calling for. That's different. Okay, well, listen to this.
Americans overwhelmingly want exactly what President Trump is delivering: strong borders and strict immigration enforcement against...
So polls don't show. They don't show people approve of what Trump's doing. So much so that this headline was necessary. Trump sues Poll, the New York Times, because his popularity is plummeting. They reported on just how unpopular he's gotten, and he's suing over it. And then you had this, Matt McDermott saying, as insane as this sounds, it's true. Pam Bondi sent Minnesota officials a letter today saying ICE would leave the state if Minnesota turns over its voter files to the Trump administration. They're openly using state violence as a bargaining chip to seize election infrastructure. Insane. Absolutely insane. I think that's where I'll wrap it up. Really crazy stuff coming out of the White House, but it does seem like they're at least panicking over how many Americans are opposed to this.